Benito. Look for a lone island. It's not much more than a rock with a few buildings perched on top. That rock is the Rock, the island of Alcatraz. We will get closer later on in our tour.
Oh.
Now look out the front or the bow of the boat. If it's not too foggy, the bright red... We are now leaving Fisherman's Wharf behind. Right now, we're passing a number of interesting sights. Look on the left or port side of the ship towards the city. But tied to the pier is a diesel submarine. Now look out the right side of the boat, also called starboard, toward the bay. Look for a lone island. It's not much more than a rock with a few buildings perched on top. That rock is the Rock, the island of Alcatraz. We will get closer later on in our tour. Now look out the front or the bow of the boat. If it's not too foggy, the bright red bridge you see is the famous Golden Gate Bridge. Masts of the old sailing ship Blue&Gold. The Blue&Gold is a steel-hulled, square-rigged cargo ship that first sailed from Wales in 1887. She carried a crew of 26 men, a load of coal and other goods bound for San Francisco. Since then, her journey has taken her as far as Australia, Cape Horn, and Europe many times over. Today, she is designated as a National Historic Monument. To the left of the Blue&Gold is located at the end of the Hyde Street cable car line. You can visit the park year-round. From here, red brick of the building rising above the ships to the left. San Francisco is famous for great food, and Ghirardelli chocolate is part of that legend. Now look farther along the shoreline. You'll see large buildings with red doors. Those are the piers of Fort Mason, one of several military locations you'll see around the bay today. John Martini is a San Francisco historian.
For most of its history, Fort Mason was called a port of embarkation. It's where supplies and men came back again to the big warehouses of
San Francisco's are metal organizations, theatrical troops, and small art galleries. To the right of Fort Mason, you can see the Marina District. The rows of elegant homes make the marina look like solid ground, but don't be fooled. The Marina District is actually land reclaimed from the bay. City for the Panama Pacific International Exposition of 1915. Look for the large, dusty orange dome building set in from the shore. It is the Palace of Fine Arts, and the only building from the Pan Pacific Expo that remains today. American architect Bernard Maybach designed it in a distinctive Roman style. Let's go back in time to 1776. 3,000 miles a year on the Atlantic coast. America's 13 colonies were about to start the American Revolution by declaring their independence from England. But here, on the Pacific shores, Spanish conquistadors were seeking out California historian.
For 200 years, Spanish ships have been sailing up and down the coast, but They stayed manned, piloted the little boat through the straits, and it was finally developed. Actually turned out to be one of the most recent delicate objects of Art Deco art that was ever created, and the scale is just immense. The towers are 700 feet in height, the span, 1,800 feet long. Building it ever looks like this before. Some people say you can build it again.
Look at the tower at the San Francisco end of the bridge. Then look down at the concrete foundation the tower is standing on. This was the first great challenge. Building a concrete pier in water more than 100 feet deep. Enormous temporary walls were built, enclosing an area in the bay the size of a football field. Water was pumped out, and then the concrete was poured. The budget
Golden Gate Bridge, the bridge which could not and should not be built, which the War Department would not permit, which the rocky foundation of the pier base would not support, which would have no traffic to justify it, which would ruin the beauty of the Golden Gate, stands before you.
Golden Gate back in 1846. That was even before gold was discovered in California. Look to the north end of the Golden Gate Bridge, the side opposite San Francisco, and you'll see a rocky point with a building on it, just below the bridge. That's Line Point, the other side of the Golden Gate's entrance, along with Fort Point. Look again at the hills to the left of Line Point, the Marin Headlands. Spend an afternoon on the hiking trails there, and you might see deer or even bobcats. Climb to the top of the Hawk Shelters, the very last stop in the country's prison system. The place to send the worst criminals of all.
Yeah, my name is Neil Wiley Thompson. My number was 1465, AC 1465. I was a man that had total hatred in them days. I hated anything that walked or crawled on this earth. And when you got a man like that in prison, you got to get rid of him. And that's what they did. They shipped me to Alcatraz.
These were hard men, kidnappers, bank robbers, killers, men so dangerous that when the first batch arrived by train in 1934, not one could never be too careful. The building you see on top of the hill was the inmate's new home, the Alcatraz cell house. One described it as a tomb of living souls. Some would stay for a year, others for 20 or 25 years or more. To get an idea of the accommodations inside, go ahead and reach your arms out as far as you can from side to side. That's how wide an Alcatraz cell is, 5 feet across. Now reach your hands up high above your head. That's how tall, and only a bit longer from end to end. The cell house might look huge from here, but it was never completely filled. No more than 300 inmates lived inside at any time. 300. They could all fit on this boat ride today. that connects Yerba Buena Island to San Francisco. The massive concrete pier in the center of the suspension bridge rises 200 feet above the water. It connects to a foundation of better 200 feet below the surface. Above, in the water, that pier is more massive than the Great Pyramid. Sailors over here can get a close-up personal view of the sea lions year-round. We'll be sailing right past them as we come into port. Have your cameras ready. Thank you for sailing with us today, and enjoy your stay in San Francisco.